You ever have one of those mornings where you feel like you finally made it? That was me sitting on my porch with Amy, clutching a chipped mug, breathing in that piney mountain air, thinking all the work, all the sacrifice was finally ours, you know? That's when Karen Turner strutted up my driveway, like she was auditioning for supreme ruler of the cul-de-sac. Pastel pink suit, hair shellacked into a helmet, legal papers waving like a white flag she'd never dream of using for surrender. She didn't say hello. She launched straight into "You're violating the High Pines HOA" and dropped a lawsuit packet right on my new porch steps as if the ink wasn't even dry yet. You know what I mean? Here's the funny part. The only thing that got wrecked that day was Karen's case, and it happened so fast it was almost a mercy killing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The first time she rolled up, Amy and I just finished our porch, sweat on our brows, hearts full of hope. The kind of hope you get after years in city apartments, staring at brick walls and dreaming about a slice of sky. We'd poured every spare dime, every back-breaking weekend into that patch of woods because we wanted real free domino neighbors, no noise, just birds and wind, a place where nobody told us what color the mailbox had to be. Turns out, dreams are a magnet for busybodies. Karen didn't just talk, she judged. Everything about her screamed, "I have an opinion about your choices." Clipboard out, she scanned my fire pit, the trees, even Amy's muddy garden boots. "You're within High Pines Community Charter," she insisted, tapping her precious paperwork. "2 violations, already fire pits unapproved. And your trees are, get this, too wild. Needs at least 40% cleared." She said it like she was reciting scripture. I almost laughed, and I'm not the type to laugh when I'm cornered. Amy sharp, she handled the legal talk. We searched the title. No, HOA. Karen's eyes narrowed. Probably your realtor's fault, but ignorance isn't an excuse. She handed over a violation slip, all smug, telling us we had 30 days or daily fines would pile up. I stood up, feeling every inch of my frustration. "Get off my land. You don't belong here. Neither do your rules." She didn't even blink, just left that slip on my step and sauntered back to her car like she'd already won. That night, Amy and I burned her notice in our very much unapproved fire pit, a tiny act of rebellion that felt huge, you know? But next morning, a deputy showed up with a thick envelope from Karen's lawyer. 48 pages of legal threats, annexation, 5 years of back dues, $9,000 in fines for things like natural landscape and non-conforming siding. Not even kidding. I almost lost it, but Amy's the calm one. "That's what she wants," she said. "She wants you to explode so she can play victim. We do this smart." So Amy hit the county records. I set up trail cams, hid them in the pines, watched the driveway, the well housey. If a squirrel sneezed, I'd see it. But the air shifted, peace replaced by a tension I'd never felt. Karen had declared war, and I wasn't sleeping right. Amy came home from the records office, face stormy. "That map Karen's waving? It's real, but the paperwork's a mess, sloppy, rushed." I waved, called the sheriff, "civil matter," he droned. So I rigged the hose and soaked the drone. Next time it dipped low. Small win, but a win. Didn't take long for things to get uglier. Someone sabotaged our wells and poured right into the motor. Deliberate. Amy started a war diary, documenting everything. Trail cams caught the next hit, Karen's goons painting a big, ugly patch of HOA-approved beige right over our cedar siding. Amy and I flipped on the floodlights, caught them on camera, but when the sheriff showed up, it was still just a civil dispute. Fines stacked up. Our neighbor Derek called to warn us Karen was poisoning the well, telling folks we were dangerous, tried to turn the whole place against us. She'd made life hell for others, to a woman forced to rip out her roses, a family losing their dog. Karen had a pattern, and we were just her latest project. Then the lawsuit landed. Thick as a phone book, 20 grand in fines, legal fees, a court order to force us into the HOA. It was designed to bleed us dry. That's when Amy dug deeper into Karen herself. "Look at her real estate business," she said. "She's been buying up every distressed property just outside the HOA, flipping them. But why bother unless she planned to pull them all into high pines and spike their values? The dots connected. Karen's so-called expansion was a get-rich-quick scheme. She'd redraw the HOA line, snap up properties cheap, then make a killing once they were prestigious High Pines estates. The residents were paying for her legal battles, her personal empire. Amy found proof sloppy filings, property records, her whole scheme mapped out. But we needed Moria kill shot. Amy remembered Mr. Abernathy, the old farmer who'd sold us our land. We tracked him down in a nursing home. He remembered everything. I made sure this parcel was forever exempt signed, notarized, filed with the county. There's number 1996 map. That's a forgery. He gave us the original 1994 map, signatures, and meeting minutes all airtight, all real. Court day came, and Karen played her parteers, tales of community harmony, her fake map unfurled for all to see. Her lawyer asked for a summary judgment, oozing confidence. Our lawyer, Ben, was calm as a stone. He let me tell the story: harassment, sabotage. The works then rolled out the real map, the signed minutes, the original carve-out. Karen's face fell. Then Ben laid out the evidence of her real estate scam, the harassment, the video of her thugs attacking me. Dead silence in the courtroom. Judge Stone didn't hesitate. Case dismissed with prejudice. But she wasn't done. She ordered Karen to pay all our costs personally. She referred the forgery and fraud to the DA for criminal investigation. Karen's empire crumbled in one morning. The HOA fired her that night. The real estate board yanked her license. The community was left to pick up her legal tab. Poetic justice, if you ask me. Amy and I, we sat on our porch again, cedar fixed, fire pit smoking, trees standing tall, every single one. Peace was back, hard-won and sweeter than before. I looked at Amy, saw that old smile, the one that says we're home. We learned something. When the system's rigged against you, sometimes the only answer is to fight smarter, not just harder. And sometimes the real victory isn't just keeping your homeites, tearing down a bully's whole crooked kingdom. So let me ask you, when is it right to stand up, not just for yourself, but for your whole community? Do we do the right thing taking the fight to Karen, or should we have just looked out for ourselves and walked away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's hear what you think about standing up to power and what justice really means that you'd think after the courtroom fireworks. After Karen's empire cracked open right there in public, we'd get some peace finally, just sit out on the porch and let all that tension wash away with the morning mist. But that's not how these stories end, is it? Real life doesn't tie itself up with a neat little bow. There's always fallout, always some last ripple from the storm, and sometimes it hits you in ways you never expect. So yeah, the dust settled. Karen vanished from High Pines like a bad rumor, her name scraped off the mailbox, the pink suit nowhere in sight. For the first time in months, I didn't wake up expecting a new fine or a passive-aggressive letter in my mailbox. Neighbors who'd avoided us before started stopping by with awkward smiles and peace offerings, homemade bread, a six-pack, a shy apology for believing the wrong stories. Even Derek, our favorite conspiracy theorist, showed up with a wild grin. Told you she'd fold if someone stood up, he said, and I could tell he meant it as a compliment. Amy tried to get back to her garden, hands deep in dirt like nothing ever happened, but you can't just erase months of living on edge. The first night the wind rattled the windows, I still got up to check the cameras, muscle memory from all those sleepless weeks. You know what I mean? Peace is something you gotta learn again, like an old song you haven't played in years. But there were moments, there were moments. I remember one afternoon, late summer, the sun low and gold, Amy sitting on the porch steps with a mug of tea, humming to herself while I split firewood. Out of nowhere, a new car pulled up, nervous energy on four wheels. A middle-aged woman climbed out, eyes darting, holding a box of paperwork. "Are you Mr. Davis?" she stammered, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Ellen. I'm well. I used to be on the HOA board." I just wanted to say thank you. And I'm sorry. None of us wanted it to get that bad. Turns out, she'd been one of the quiet ones bullied by Karen, shamed into silence, voting yes out of fear. She brought us the minutes from old meetings, every passive-aggressive memo Karen ever sent, even a little spiral notebook full of handwritten notes, evidence nobody'd ever asked for, but that ended up blowing the door wide open on Karen's pattern of intimidation. "It's not much," she said, "but I thought you should have it." That's when it really hit me how deep Karen's claws had gone. People have been afraid to breathe wrong for years. Amy invited Ellen in for coffee. They talked for hours about roses, lost pets, all the small heartbreaks that never make the news but turn life sour one drop at a time. Amy's voice, usually so steady, caught a little as she told Ellen, "You can't let one bully define the whole neighborhood." And for the first time, I saw that all this fighting it wasn't just for our little slice of land. It was for everyone stuck behind those picket fences, wishing someone else would take the first swing. But not everyone was happy. There was this older guy, Mr. Griggs, always meticulous about his yard edges trimmed sharp as a razor, flag perfectly lit at night. He cornered me at the mailbox, arms crossed tight, voice cold. "You cost us a fortune. Assessment fees went up. Some folks blame you for rocking the boat." I could see the anger, the fear, the frustration of a man who just wanted his peace, even if it meant ignoring the rod in the walls. "We did what we had to do," I told him. "And if we hadn't, who knows what she would have pulled next." But he just shook his head and walked off, leaving a silence heavier than any insult. That's the thing nobody tells you about winning. Sometimes the neighborhood doesn't throw a parade. Some people are grateful, some are jealous, and some just want to go back to pretending everything's fine. Amy and we had to learn to live with that. You don't fight a war and walk away the same person. The next twist came about a month later, right when the leaves started to turn. Amy got a letter not from High Pines this time, but for a local reporter. Somebody had tipped them off about the HOA scandal. Suddenly our phone wouldn't stop ringing, neighbors wanting to know what would get printed, board members panicking about being named, old board meeting records now subpoenaed for the grand jury investigation into Karen's fraud. You want a quiet life, you build your home at the end of a dirt road, but in the internet age, no story stays buried for long. Derek called to say his mailbox was full of anonymous letters, threats, thank you notes, a gift card to a garden center. Ellen got a nasty voicemail from an anonymous number telling her to mind her business. Even Amy's old boss sent a congratulatory email with a quiet PS, "If you ever want a job as a paralegal again, call me." Apparently, word travels. But the most cinematic moment? It happened the day the state trooper knocked on our door. Not to arrest us, brought a formal notice that Karen Turner had been indicted. Fraud, forgery, perjury of works. The trooper even smiled as he handed Amy the notice. "Saw your case on the news," he said. "Hell of a fight. Glad you folks came out on top." He winked, tipped his hat, and left us standing there in my work boots, Amy in her muddy jeans realizing it was finally, actually over. Almost. Because life doesn't roll credits just because you beat the villain. There's always another chapter. One afternoon, I found a hand-painted sign nailed to a pine at the start of our drive. "Welcome home, troublemakers," it said in Derek's messy handwriting. Underneath, someone had scrawled, "Thanks for having the guts the rest of us didn't." But next day, someone else had painted over it, "Mind your own business." That's life, right? Some folks cheer you on, some just want you to keep your head down. That night, Amy and I sat by the fire pit, the woods whispering like they always had before all the chaos. She leaned against my shoulder, quiet, then said, "Do you think we did the right thing? Was it worth it?" And I looked at her, at everything we'd built and everything we'd survived, and said, "I think doing the right thing is never easy. If it was, everybody would do it." She smiled, just a hint of that old city girl mischief, and squeezed my hand. "So here's my question to you. If you made it this far, what would you have done? Stood your ground, even if it cost you some friends? Fought for your home, even when the world said sit down and take it? Or would you have kept your head down and let the bullies win? Drop your thoughts below. Tell us what you think about fighting for what's right, even when the price is high. Because sometimes the only thing that stands between a neighborhood and a tyrant is one stubborn family who just refuses to back down.